Hi and welcome, my name is Lawrence Baker and this video is called, or going to be about, real world masking of flyaway hair. The fact is flyaway hair doesn't really make any difference to me. It's seen as the sort of Everest of masking. I honestly know I'm going to fail to a certain extent on this. Z or Z, for the zoom tool, zoom in. Some of these areas, especially around here, are just going to be almost impossible to mask. But a picture editor has said to me, Lawrence, I really need this picture of Boris on top of someone else's wife or girlfriend. I mean, the House of Parliament. And we got 15 minutes. Can you do it for me? I say, yeah, okay, let's get going. So F7, background layer means you can't change the blend mode or anything. You can't put anything below it. Command or Control J. Command J on a Mac, Control J on Windows for duplicate layer. Turn that off. Back to that background layer. I need to put the House of Parliament underneath Boris, basically, which it literally is. But for this image, I definitely need to put it just underneath Boris. So, File, Place Embedded. That means it becomes part of the file, whereas Linked means it can be separate to the file, and you could update it outside of the document, and it will update the smart object, the linked smart object inside the document. If you're working on a network drive with the logo in a team of Photoshop people and graphic designers, the logo guy can update the logo and it will update every linked smart object. Anyway, for most of us, it will be place embedded and it comes in as a smart object. Now you can always rasterize it, but it's quite good that it comes in as a smart object. That means you can rotate it, warp it, or whatever. So you can see now it's not a very good workspace because it's too big. Command or Control minus a couple of times, you can see what you're doing. You can see from the blue border that this image is slightly too small, and obviously the aspect ratio is not the same either. It's very rare you're going to bring in an image from somewhere else doing this. It's going to be exactly the same pixel dimensions. Shift key press, very important to constrain it to its actual aspect ratio. And in this case, the Alt Option key kept pressed. So it's the reference point is the center there, and it works out from the center outwards. I'm going to make it slightly larger, like so, because when I zoom in, Command plus a few times, spacebar for the hand tool, Shift key again to make sure I'm not distorting anything. Bring it in like that, you'll see the purple line because under View and Show, I've got Smart Guides on, so you can see what you're doing. So spacebar, let's go across the other side quickly. Shift key press, looking for the purple line. And what that ensures is, Command 0, that you're not wasting anything, if you see what I mean. You're getting it exactly right. So you're interpolating the image, you're resampling it because you're making it larger. That's called upsampling. It's destructive. It's going to use bicubic automatic. I'll show you that in a minute. It will choose different methods on whether you're making it larger or smaller, this image. But interpolation and resampling is taking place because you're changing the size of it. Tick symbol or just press return. Command and Control K. Image interpolation bicubic automatic, which means if you're making it smaller, bicubic sharper, best for reduction. If you're making it larger, bicubic smoother, best for enlargement. That's what happens on automatic. I don't recommend you change it. It's done that interpolation without giving you any choice. So it's underneath Boris. Back to Boris. We need to mask out Boris. There's only two tools really. It's Magic Wand and Quick Selection. Quick Selection normally. But under each tool, W for the keyboard shortcuts, we've got Select Subject. Driven by AI, artificial intelligence. The more we use it, the better it gets, basically. Select subject. It's not going to be perfect. Select and mask or select and mask. Alter option, Command and Control R. If you press the Shift key, you get the old workspace. But the Select and Mask workspace is far better than the Refine Edge workspace. Cancel. So select and mask from there from the options bar. I'm on Y for on layers, and this is why I always make sure I've got this all set up because I need to see Boris against the background I'm going to output him on. That's really important. So Y or onion skin. And onion skin is really good because like that, you don't see the background and you start to bring it in as you bring the transparency up. So often I start off on Y, which is on layers, I should say. I go to onion skin when I start to refine the edge, and we'll come to that in a minute. Now, show edge won't show up if you're on the brush, let's say, but for most of the tools, it will show up. But be careful you are on a tool where you can actually access it, because it's important you tick this sometimes. So let's go to edge detection, which is twirled up. Let's twirl it open. Show edge. Well, I'm not seeing anything because I need to give it an edge. And that's what it means in this context. There's your edge already there. It's putting a border that goes either side of the edge. And that's what edge means in this context. So the more I bring it up, let's bring it up to 250, which is the highest I can go. You can see the edge. If I tick Smart Radius, where there's a very definite edge, that will be narrow. Where it needs it to be wider, i.e. 250 pixels, it'll be wider. And that's what Smart Radius means. It knows where something has already got a defined edge, doesn't need a huge border. Now, I've nothing against this, but personally, I don't work this way. Let's turn it off. You can start painting with the Refine Edge brush tool straight away, but let's turn it off and use the Refine Edge brush tool. What I'm going to do now is press O for onion skin and bring the transparency up so I can see his hair and the background. So I know where his hair stops and starts. Maybe a little bit more, actually. Maybe down a bit. That'll do. Refine Edge brush tool. Don't change anything. Start painting around the edges. Half in, half out around the edges. What you're saying to Photoshop is re-evaluate these edges. That's it, really. Now, I don't know if this portion is driven by AI. I should imagine it is. So you're forcing Photoshop to look at these edges. Now, you can keep going over and over again. There'll come a point when it doesn't make any changes, but I'm sort of playing around and seeing if I can basically make sure I've got every single edge taken into account. Show edge, you can see what I've done. Show edge off. Back to on layers, which is Y on my keyboard. It's very, very gummy there. Now, I'm not using edge detection, I'll get rid of it. So what can I do with global refinements to make this better? Now, smooth will not be any good. I'll zoom in, Z on my keyboard, Z on your keyboard, zoom in, I'll show you smooth. What smooth will do is it smooths off the edges of the mask. So if you had a 90-degree corner, it will bevel that corner. That's what it kind of does. It's not done a very good job, but let's go Command minus a few times and see what it looks like. Command 0 to fit back on the screen. No, you don't want that at all. So maybe I could smooth it off a little bit, and maybe I'm talking, 8, or wait, it goes up to 100. Maybe it's just 100%. Who knows? But anyway, smoothing. Yeah, it would be not pixels. It would be a percentage. Yeah. If you imagine a sharp corner, and you got the actual point of the corner, you're rounding off the corner. That's what smooth means. Now, feather can work really well. I should zoom in, but I'm just going to put it right up and see what it does straight away. You can see it's created a quite nice effect, but we don't want that. So that's 1,000 pixels. It's almost like using a blend mode. It's quite good. But anyway, let's come down to something practical like 25. Yeah, it really is a difficult ask, this hair, really is. Down to 0. I don't want to see a lot of it, so I'm willing to feather it off. Contrast, well, if you think black and white, and let's put it on black and white actually, if you put the contrast up, you can see now what it's done. It's just, there's no subtlety at all, basically. What was near black has got black, what was near white has become white. So I'm looking and saying, well, but actually I don't mind that. I changed the view to on layers, which is Y on my keyboard. Oh, contrast maybe a little bit more. Not too much. We don't want a really gummy edge. So I might leave it a bit. This is so arbitrary and based on your eye and your knowledge of the tools. Now, shift edge will shift the edge either outwards or inwards. And I think now I need to bring it inwards. Now, the more I bring it in, if I bring it to a minus 100%, it looks ridiculous. Looks like he's been to a very bad barber's. I'm bringing it up. I'm on minus 37, minus 4. No, minus 4 is not working. It's so gummy at the edge, and I'm really working. I'm thinking, how can I get this to work? Output settings, I can put decontaminate colors on. This was on a green background. It's probably picked up some green. What it does is the pixel part of the layer will be really weird, but the mask will look okay. And it sort of adds in color to get rid of that color, if you see what I mean. It looks very gummy, the pixel layer, but with the mask, it looks all right. On 100%, it's really not doing anything for me. And I don't hardly ever use it, to be totally honest with you, because it restricts the way you can work post coming out of this workspace. So I'm not going to have it on, I've decided. So what I'm going to do is output it as a new layer with a layer mask. And then I'm going to duplicate it. So I've got the original one here. Turn that one off. Alt-Option key kept pressed. Click in. You can see the mask. Command plus a few times. So it's not fantastic. Now, I might stay in the mask, but work in the pixel layer, if you see what I mean, so I can see what's going on. Something's sort of jumping out to me. B for brush. I'm on 100% opacity and 10% flow. I recommend low flow or low opacity, either or. Now, if you paint with overlay or soft light or any of these modes, 50% grey will not be touched. So using white or black, it can sort of bring to life the edge, but it could also cause you problems. So I'm quickly going to zoom in a bit more. Spacebar, come over here. I'm going to try black first. Just watch. I'm in the mask. I'm working in the mask. On overlay, 10% flow, and see what's happening. If I put it up to 100% flow, Shift 0, and paint around, you can see what's happening. That is pretty awful. That's on black. Command Z. Command Z a few times, actually. X to swap the colours around. White. What am I doing there? Making it really gummy yet again. Command Z. So I can't work with 100% flow. So Shift 1, I'm just going to go around sort of with the black, well, maybe with the white. And I'm working actually in black. And it seems to be working okay at the moment. Perfection is not going to happen, as I said. Now, the other way I can work, I can actually work in the pixel layer, and that looks absolutely awful. So what I might do now is work with the brush on normal mode, and that's Alt-Option, Shift N for normal, and I'm going to paint out with black, 10% like this. So I'm not taking it away totally, I'm just making it less obvious. And obviously, eventually I will get there, because 10% flow means 10 strokes down the same place will be maximum opacity, so to speak, or maximum effect, I should say. So I'm working around there, and so I've done overlay and all that. It's not done a bad job, but I'm trying to sort of make these edges, and in fact, Shift 0, I'm getting rid of that bit there. Oh, Command Z. Shift 0, I've got to get rid of that there, so I'm on 100% flow, because it's not working for me. And Shift 1 for back to 10%. My fault, Command 0. Shift 1, I'm on 10% flow. I'm looking at fit on screen at the moment. Command 1 would probably be better or more realistic. So I'm going around there. I'm still on normal, don't forget. I'm sort of taking these edges away. I can work with a very small brush. Now, some of the ways I work sometimes, I'm still on the mask. Be careful that you are on the mask, by the way. I need to get rid of, there's a real dark edge there. I'm just going to get rid of it. Painting with black. Get rid of that there. Now, there's different ways of working. I could have a very small brush now, very tiny little brush, and go in and do things like that. Command Z, but not on 100% flow or opacity. So Shift 1, I'm just going to go in around there and just do a few streaks, like so. And even on that bit there, just to give it sort of some reality. It's very dark as well. I could work on the pixel layer if I wanted to. Now, I have got my own hairbrush, not for brushing my own hair. I wish Boris' brush is, but just for basically using it inside a mask here so I can make the hair look realistic. I take the hair in and sort of make my own edge, if you see what I mean. So I can't see what's going on. Caps lock key will always bring back that crosshair if you can't see where you are with a very small brush. So I'm just working a little bit randomly here, like so. As I said, I can work in the pixel part of the layer. Here, if I wanted to, I can make it into a smart object, of course, as well. So I can also use the smudge tool to do this as well. I'm flying around a little bit. Caps lock key to see where I am. I can see my crosshair now. I'm on a very small brush. You probably won't be able to see it in this video. So I'm playing around. My screen is flying around all over the place. And this is a problem when you're on a Mac using Adobe products. I've moaned many times, but nothing has happened. Because it shouldn't jump around like this all the time. You only got to touch the mouse slightly in the wrong way. So I could use the smudge tool. There's the smudge tool. I could even come in here. Again, caps lock key. I can't see what I'm doing. Caps lock off. Very small brush. And smudge it as well. But it makes black marks. So Command Z. I'm going to stay with a brush actually. So don't forget I'm on 10% flow. I'm not on a huge amount here. I'm just sort of dragging that out around there. Now, it's not perfect. I know that. If I had the time, as I said, I would use my hairbrush, bring the mask in, shrink it in quite a bit, actually recreate it with a brush. And that is extremely laborious. But if I had to do it, I would do it. But if you're a photographer, you should be shooting against, let's say, a green screen or something, so you can easily mask out. But, this is real world, as I said. So I'm not going to do much more. I don't think you watching me go around making little cuts and strokes with a brush is going to make much difference. But notice I am working on 10% flow, which is really important. Command 0 to fit back on screen. Is it brilliant? No, it isn't. But it's real world. I had to work quickly. I probably waffled on too much. But I've got there. It's not that bad. That's it, guys. Thank you very much.